Howdy, howdy. Welcome to another Music Industry Sundowner put on by WAM and APRA AMCOS. Thanks for coming down and coming along and supporting these events. I'm not sure if I saw many of you or you guys at the Three Wise Monkeys event at the State Library a few weeks back. It was an awesome little event for those of you who were there. This is a regular series, so we'll have another one coming up in a couple of months. Different topics each week. This one's on music videos. Unfortunately, Alexi from WAM couldn't be here because his wife had a baby yesterday. Yeah, that's really nice. So, because we're filming, congratulations, Alexi. Yeah, well done. Okay, so we have some amazing film directors here, and behind me is Justine Smith from the Australian Directors Guild of Western Australia. So I'm just going to hand over to her. She's going to moderate the session, and I'll have a handheld mic as usual to come around with your questions. So thanks for coming, and I'll just hand over to Justine.
Hi, so this is the first time the Australian Directors Guild has been involved in the Sundowner series because we have some great directors here talking about music videos. Well, we'll get going with loads of that. So we're meant to do our mini bios about ourselves. I am also a director who's done some dance film and short films and physical comedy. But I'm the representative for the Directors Guild, which is for people that make films of any kind, whether it's television, feature films, music videos, commercials, and whatever we call new media nowadays. And I'd also like to pass the baton to Andrew Nowrigi, who I know we'll probably be looking at some San Cisco clips, but he can maybe tell you a bit more about himself as well.
G'day everyone, how are you going tonight, all right? Good? That's good. Basically, I've been directing for about 7 years now. I graduated from the Victorian College of Arts Film School in Melbourne, originally from WA, and then I went over to Melbourne, did the course, and I came back, which was a couple of years back, and there wasn't much of an industry to sort of get involved in. So basically, I spent a lot of time working with other groups of people on their films, and then I started working towards setting up a small production company that I have now in Fremantle. I've been doing music videos, short films, whatever I can get my hands on basically, and then in about 2010 I had a great opportunity with working with Matthew Seville on Cloud Street, which is great, and since then I've just been working and making music videos where I can, and yeah, keeping afloat basically. Cool. And
next to Andrew is Ben Young. Tell us a bit about yourself, Ben.
Hi. I'm pretty lucky. I've never had a job outside of film and television. I got cast in a TV commercial when I was 12 years old, and then went on and kind of acted all the way through high school. Then when I got older and ugly and stopped getting cast in things, I thought, let's go study screenwriting so I can write myself a role in something. That didn't happen. But I did do a unit called Ads and Music Videos when I was at Curtin doing my BA in screenwriting, and I just did it. It was an elective unit, had to do it. And a mate of mine was in a band called Cartman. This was in 2002. And I said, can I do a video? And he went, yep, you can do this song. And we were really lucky. We did the song, and then like around the time we released the video, the album was a feature album on Triple J, and that song was all over Fly TV. And for some reason, I don't know what it is, probably because of the song, we got nominated for a couple of national awards. And then I finished uni and just started doing lots and lots of music videos. People just came to me. I think at last count, I've done 25, I think, since 2002, but I had a long break because I got sick of them and kind of came back probably 2.5, 3 years ago. Some friends of mine who were in a band, Boys Boys Boys, asked me to do Tiki Boom for them as a favour, and I did that and got the taste back for it. And so, yeah, been pretty busy over the last 2 years.
Okay, thanks Ben. And Stephen Aaron Hughes, who also has been very busy lately and maybe works on a couple of different sides of making music videos as well. Can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah. I am, I guess, a jack of too many trades sometimes. I perform in a couple of bands. Some of the more known projects are Injured Ninja and Usurper of Modern Medicine. I studied sound engineering and video production at Edith Cowan. I graduated in 2006. I've been working on short films, documentaries, do a lot of post-production animation. I work for marketing companies and do commercials and things like that. I sell my soul a little bit to make some bucks, I will admit, but that keeps me afloat and allows me to make my music. But through my music connections, I've got into doing music videos, producing and directing. My first major one I worked on was for Sugar Army, would have been about 2007, and that was as an assistant director. I've gone on to direct and produce, I don't even know how many, like probably upwards of 20 to 30 clips, but I've lost track of what we've all done. And yeah, and I've more recently got into kind of creative video, as in live video for live performances. I've designed live visuals for bands like Tame Impala and my own projects, and I kind of do heading more towards video installation work rather than straight out music videos, kind of working with artists to create dynamic video. And that's kind of my approach, is to kind of expand into new media and new ways of using video as opposed to just promotional. But of course I still work in the music video industry, and it's still a really awesome creative tool that I often find myself exploring. So
okay, thank you for that. And I think
like
we'll move on from that for all of you. Anyone can answer if you like, but what is it that made you want to do music videos, or what's the correlation to the other stuff that you do? Because obviously no one in Perth can really survive only doing music videos.
Well, I've said I got into it accidentally, which I did, but I guess I kind of enjoyed it because you don't have to record any sound.
Yeah.
So it's
so good.
A much easier way to shoot stuff, and you don't have to have any continuity, and you can just break every filmmaking rule that you're taught in film
You
school.
can just yell at the band while they're playing. You go,
Yeah.
more, give us more.
So there's a lot of freedom in it, I guess, as a filmmaker until you're working with particular bands. But yeah, you can just do what you want. So that's an attraction for me.
And so that's what's different. Are there things that are the same? Maybe Andrew, you can answer that.
Looking at the difference between, like say for example, a studio system or when you make music videos, I've found that when I make music videos, it's a lot more loose, and a lot of the positions in your crew you usually double up, which can be an advantage and a disadvantage. For example, you might not have someone doing continuity, or you might not even have an AD. So when you're making music videos, you kind of, it's sort of who you can get together and how you can divide the budget to make it work. So it's always changing. So it's very different to when, say for example, you're directing drama or a short film, where there's a different sort of hierarchy. So I find it's a lot looser. Yeah, that's the main difference. But exactly the same restraints. I mean, your time is always going to be against you. You know, you've only got a certain amount of time to get everything done. So there are the same restraints as if you were doing, you know, documentary drama or whatever. It's just that, you know, you have to sort of, yeah.
I think your creative flexibility is a lot better in the music video situation, especially sometimes in post, I guess. Yeah. Regular limitations of budget and time, but when it comes to the creative process, you can sometimes flip things on their head, and it's a great space for artists to kind of come up with new ideas and don't have to stick to a script.
Yeah, and that's a part of it that we can look at, because obviously we've got musicians or people involved in the music industry here who are also creative artists on the other side that you're working with. For those that don't know, an AD is an assistant director, one of the crew roles that you would have on a drama shoot, I think, and also takes a bit of pressure off the director with keeping everything running on time and keeping everything running smoothly.
Totally the heart of everything. If your first AD is the best first AD ever, then you have the best film crew ever, pretty much, in my opinion.
Now I'm going to move on to the side of working with musicians, and obviously a music video is a marketing tool, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about tonight. But we know that musicians sometimes don't have a lot of money, and we know that filmmakers also don't always. So what's the going rate? What would you take, or what's the limit that you'd work to?
Okay, you can never have too much, but I personally, this is the biggest rant that I'll have, the limit, you can't really do anything for less than $5,000. For me, it's not even worth it for less than 10 now. So you can go out and you can get, everyone's a music video director nowadays, you can get your mobile phone and make a music video or shoot it on a 5D, and you can do that, and you can do it for $1,000 bucks. But what so many musicians don't understand is, like, even the last music video I did was financed by Sony, and so I had a big budget, or big compared, you know, I think it was around 17 grand. But that was such a little amount of money that I had to physically edit it myself. We had to shoot it on all of my gear, and I think that what everyone forgets is that for me it was a full-time job for a month, full-time, at least a month, and I walked away with less than $3,000, and that is not enough to live on. And so it's yeah, it's hard.
And knowing that maybe also you might have a gap between jobs, or you might actually be working on your next job, you know, or you'd want to be in your downtime or directly after that.
Yeah.
If I could just add something as well, like I can understand when I've made music videos, a lot of time people come to you and they say, look, we've got a very limited budget. And that's kind of always the going one. We've got a limited budget, what can we do? And from my point of view, I can understand the fact that it's an intangible. You're going to create something for them. They don't know what they're going to get. They just want to make sure that it's going to be successful and they're putting it in your hands. And exactly what Ben said, you get to a point where you can't do it for any other price because you know, you've got to take care of your crew. I mean, you've got to take care of how you're going to survive as you edit it and put through it. So yeah, it's always a bit of a juggle. But saying that, musicians aren't always broke, and that's the other thing to remember as well, that a lot of it within their marketing is the music video will be the last thing they really think of, which is kind of one of the most important things because it's the advertisement for the song, it's the advertisement for the band, so it's a very important thing. So it's a shame that in regards to managers of musicians and bands, see that as the kind of like, you know, last thing that they might have allocated budget for. In saying that, there's also a lot of good music managers and people that do understand that it is a craft and that you need a certain amount of budget to be able to do it. When you get someone like that, that makes it a dream job, and it's really good because essentially you're pulling together a whole bunch of technicians that are very good at their craft and what they do, and to be able to kind of say, you know, oh, an expectation that you're just going to do it because it's this type of band or this type of artist is ridiculous. It's a, you know, it's a specific job and you want to do the best you can, and that requires people to be paid what they should be.
If you don't have anything else, I might just show a clip of yours, Andrew, which is from San Cisco.
Do you want me to do a bit of an intro?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, this is a clip that I did, produced by Kate Breckney, and that I directed. It was, the clip literally fell into our hands late November. So Phil Stevens from JR Records came to us and said, look, we've had a prominent director on the East Coast who's pulled out, we're in a real bind, we need someone to make this music video before the band goes on tour. The band was going on tour basically early January, so we had to get everything finished. So end of November, we find out that we've got to make this clip. He said, look, they're probably not going to be able to do it. And I was a little bit kind of hesitant, but then I talked to my brother and he said, just do it. So I said, okay. And then we went into pre-production to make it happen. And the reason why it was difficult, you know, a month and a half isn't too bad, but it was right slap bang in the middle of Christmas and everything like that. So we had to pull together a range of dancers, organise a location, organise crew as well. And it's usually at the time when everybody's on holiday or not around. So yeah, so we made it happen, and it was we didn't really get time to audition the dancers. It was literally like we'd get them to send in the YouTube clips and work out who we needed, and then we got the location, which was Midland Hall, and then it was all go. So and this is the obvious result of that.
Now, that's probably one of the most recent clips you've done with San Cisco. So I guess you've developed a creative relationship with them as well that's built over time.
Yeah, the first clip I did for them was Awkward, and that was the first time I got to work with the band, and it was probably a band, well, it was probably a job where I did too many things on in terms of doing art department, edited it, everything all together. But yeah, that's where I first developed the relationship with them, and then with this one, because they had a director drop out over East when they came to me, I think that Phil just knew that I was competent and that I could deliver a music clip, and I think that's the main thing that what a lot of managers are looking for, just that you can actually deliver something and get it done, as opposed to it being drawn out or maybe not to the quality that people want. But yeah, no, and they're a really great bunch to work with, very playful. They have a real strong maturity for their age. And yeah, they really help out and bring themselves to the clip, which is really cool. So yeah.
You had to direct their performance a little bit in that?
A little bit. I think it's Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Did you have to teach them how to dance?
No, they had their own moves. They were pretty quick to sort of pick things up, and they had a lot of fun. I mean, I find it really important that when you're making a music clip, you've got to try and enjoy yourself as much as you can. And when I'm working with actors, they either work in two different ways. They're either really shit scared and they'll work really hard, or if they're really enjoying themselves, they'll do a great performance as well. And with this, it was one of those situations where they were really having a good time, so you could catch those moments, and also to get them to think not so much about themselves, because a lot of young musicians, you know, they're really worried about what their image is going to be like. Or I guess everybody's worried about that if they're going to be on TV in some ways. So it was really getting them to let go and not focus on themselves too much and really externalise in the moment. So in a way, I've sort of brought in some of my drama, sort of directing to that. And then the rest of it's just setting it up so that you can catch some pretty random moments that are spontaneous as well.
So
and that's it.
I mean, do you need to like the band? Anyone can answer this one, I suppose.
I don't know.
Brave.
I don't know how these guys work, but I've got this habit of whatever I'm working on, even if it's a low-budget, low-brow TV commercial, I somehow manage to find something in it which makes me love it. And there's tons of times when I haven't connected to a song and then love it, and then you end up always hating it because you have to listen to it a trillion times when you're cutting it. But yeah, I think you have to find a reason to love it, otherwise you can't.
It's part of being creative then.
Yeah, it's part of finding a passion for it.
Yeah. Okay. And how, maybe back to Andrew, how creative can you be when you're building those relationships? Does it change anything?
I think you can be as creative as you want to be. I mean, the main thing is they've come to you to execute an idea. So if they've got their idea, people might think that's not that creative, but it still is, because you have to find a way to make that idea come together. So if someone says, oh, we've got this idea, we're going to shoot it on a beach, on the rocks, which doesn't sound that original or amazing, you've got to find a way to execute that, and that's where your creativity comes into it. But then obviously you're going to get musicians that come to you and go, okay, well, we don't have an idea, what do you think, where would you take it? And that's been usually the case with the music videos that I've produced, is to think about it and find a creative idea. So if they have an idea, you've got to be creative, and if they don't have an idea and they're expecting you to bring it, then you've got to be extra creative. But I just wanted to say something in regards to whether you have to like the band. It's kind of like, who would you prefer to bake a cake with? Someone that you like or someone that you don't like? But that shouldn't be confused with the fact that if both people are passionate about it and you lock horns, that's great. So I think that's really important for people that are making music videos, that if both people are passionate about it, then you're going to lock horns. Doesn't mean you don't like the person or they don't like you, it's just that you're basically gearing towards the overall vision of the project. So yeah, I just want to say that too. Yeah.
As long as you can incredibly work together, and if you're getting paid enough for that cake, then it's okay.
Now, I haven't seen this one. This is a clip of yours, Steve, but I got the impression from Tennille that it's quite a creative one itself.
Yeah, creative could be definitely a word you could use to describe this one. I actually produced this one and I was first AD because it was a director named Julian Yao, who I've been wanting to work with for ages, who helped me out with art direction on a lot of my own clips. And Kuchka, Laura, is just a really close friend of mine. So this one I wasn't paid very much for, but this is for some very close friends, and I'm more of an artist really. I want to have more chance to like work to create, interesting content and just challenge myself. So when me and Julia came together for the idea for this, and she had the images in her head, I was like, yeah, I really want to do something like this. So my role was to pretty much just organise everything, help with the prop and costume design, and just get all the crew and stuff together to make this clip in the way we wanted. And it was done on a crowdfunded budget, a possible budget. She raised about $3,000, and then the band put in another $2,000. So this was done for $5,000, but this is obviously a bit of personal expense on the crew's part, because we just love her music and wanted to make her first video really awesome. So
Let's have a look.
And a lot of the ideas weren't mine in that one, but we just kind of decided to run with that. I hope you enjoy the vibe. Didn't offend any of you out there.
Very inspiring, yes. But we'll continue with our discussion. Now, the question I guess I have is crowdfunding and looking at that. Is that something you've done very much?
I did it for my own project earlier this year and was successful, and I was kind of inspired by what I ended up have worked on maybe 4 or 5 major projects in the last year that have come from crowdfunding. And so I was curious to try it myself, and I did it for a video project for one of my own bands, which hasn't come out yet, will come out later in the year. And yeah, it's an interesting way. I mean, talking about the budgeting that goes into the whole marketing campaign of a single release or an album, sometimes, yeah, the music video is that kind of last thing on the list that might get truncated when other costs get extended. That can be a really good time for artists to consider. Crowdsourcing for a music video is a more kind of, I guess, realistic budget to aim for a smaller band that needs that bit of cash. You know, obviously might not be able to raise the 20, 30 grand they need for an entire album, but to raise 7 to 10 grand to do a music video, which could be something that could be really pivotal for them, could be really good. And it could also double as the crowdfunding process in itself is really good marketing by putting the band out there and, you know, offering the prizes and the incentives and just creating awareness that they're making an album and a video is also a really good thing. So it seems like a really, yeah, I mean, like I said, I've worked on 4 projects in the last year from crowdfunding alone, so it's obviously something that's kind of picking up some steam and it's becoming really good at helping artists get that budget they need to make quality music videos.
Okay. I think that's reasonable for people that are coming from, like you're saying, from a lower budget background, or it might be their first couple of songs and things like that.
Yeah.
And that has been what's been, only the more recent thing that I've been hearing is how you can build an audience through doing a campaign like that. So
yeah,
it may
which
not...
it almost might be a pivotal time for that artist to build a crowd anyway, to make the most of that music video when it does get released, so it can be very symbiotic.
Yeah. But of course not all the videos we want to make are based at that level, and there are other areas of the marketing side which, you know, the ones we're most used to for music videos at the moment are YouTube and Rage, and I would think maybe Ben, you've had some successes with Rage with some of your clips.
Yeah, I've been really lucky. I have made 2 videos this year, which were Rage's Indie of the Week, which means they get played at a reasonable hour, so they're not on at 4 o'clock in the morning, they're on, I think, at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I think 4 o'clock in the morning as well. So they're on twice. But I know, I'm aware when I'm making stuff now that inevitably it will end up on Rage or MTV or whatever it will. But I really just focus on the net now because I think it's kind of more realistic, and that's where I watch most music videos, because the stuff that I like generally I'm not just going to see when I'm channel flicking to Rage. So I kind of look at the internet more as, you know, my focus.
The way you gauge.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, for a band wanting to market it, I guess Rage is an outcome which links to radio and links to it getting heard.
It does, but I still think, you know, I made a video last year, I think, for Voltaire Twins called Solaris, and we had so little money, I don't know if anyone saw it, but it got banned in 4 hours after it was released.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And that was actually the best thing that ever happened to me, because Russia and Rolling Stone ended up picking up the magazine, and the video for a song which I don't think got a lot of radio play at all. Now, you know, it wasn't down on Vimeo, so on the Voltaire Twins site, it's up where somewhere like 60 or 70,000 hits now, and then the one I've got on my site is up to like 10,000 hits, and then someone has got one back on YouTube which hasn't been banned, and that's at 10,000 hits or something. So for a song which wasn't widely received, the video went wide because it was a risky video. So I like that. I think that you can market better online than you can on television, because if the content is strong enough, people will forward it on, and that's priceless.
Yeah, right.
Especially the type of audiences that kind of artists that I guess we probably work with are going to be more aimed at the YouTube kind of, you know, generation, what have you.
So how do you do that? Is it just a matter of putting it up, or you also have to put it out on Facebook? You do
you put it up, and I obviously share it on Facebook, and if I'm very lucky, 1 or 2 of my friends share it. But the bands, I don't know how many likes they have on Facebook, but they've usually got a few thousand, and their fans are going to be more inclined to share it on, and then other people see it and they share it on, and that's, I guess, what viral is. It's just, yeah, someone likes it, sees it, shares it, and yeah, and it goes on.
But is there also, I mean, obviously you guys are all more having made them, but would your producer or the band's manager also be focusing on getting the videos out there? Do you know, have you followed that side at all?
An interesting way to do it is to get the video attached to a certain publication for a premiere. Like Triple J, Home and Hose blog will do that sometimes. The music.com.au have done that with a few of my videos. Just having that one media outlet that pushes the video first can be a better thing than the band pushing themselves. So it's like more of an authority kind of getting it out there for them. And it's just that synchronicity across all media that you want in time with, you know, getting to radio perhaps the week before or release maybe coming the week after, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and it also helps the more websites obviously that it's premieres on or is going to be basically with the website, the more it's going to have more of a web to get across to different people. And I found that with when I did Awkward and the amount of different music websites that it was on had a huge role into play in regards to the views. So it depends what the management's like in regards to the band or the musician. If they're proactive and they really embrace a lot of the online stuff, then that really helps in getting it out there as well.
And at that point, does it matter how much money you spend on the clip or how good you personally think the clip turned out? At that point, when audiences start to watch it, something can be amazing that you didn't expect?
I guess I've been surprised. Sometimes I've made videos which I thought were great, which no one has watched. And I've made other videos. I knew Solaris would get attention because it's got heaps and heaps of nudity and lots and lots of gay people getting it on, which is controversial in itself. And so I knew it would get attention. And yeah, so I don't know. You don't. I don't know. I can't pick it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Stephen, you've also done, with your own band, Usurper of Modern Medicine, you've done clips of live recordings. Would you use that as a clip that goes out for the song or not?
No, I don't think I've actually done any of that sort. I mean, there's been ones that have been done by friends and fans of ours that have wound up on the net. I think we've kind of incorporated into promotional material for the band.
Right.
But, yeah, nothing ever truly live. I don't think we've pushed.
So
Could be a possibility, yeah.
Okay, but
yeah.
mostly then you lean towards crafting a music video as the marketing material for that song or that band.
Yeah, I would. We actually haven't made a proper music video. Like the two we've made, we've just kind of made ourselves. One was this animation I did pretty much by myself, but where the campaign we did earlier this year was I worked with some artists in Japan to do a complete dramatic video shoot, and so that's currently in post-production. That will probably be our first actually like official music video, and that is completely dramatized. There's no performance. That is all very much heavily about narrative. So, yeah.
And that brings up another question then. How much is showing the band member required? How much can you just show story? Is there a rule or a ratio, or is that something that you always break?
Some people might think there's rules. I think in certain pop music scenarios there's going to be these rules like you have to see the band's face like 66% of the time or something like that. But in the creative aspect, anything really goes. It's just all about capturing the rhythm and the tone of the song in a visual sense.
What about when you're working with Sony or another company? Do they?
That is a different story. When you're working with a big record label, I think that some of my videos that have got attention have got the attention because I've really had a good relationship with the band and we've come up with an idea which we both like, whereas every time I've worked with a record label, they have come up to me and they've said, make The Hangover 2 or make this. And so they tell you, and so you have to kind of make their idea. And, and they're not my most successful videos. They all look good and they do what everyone wanted them to do, but at one point on one of them I had more suits on set than I did actual crew helping the video, and that was frustrating for me because they'd all flown over from Sydney and were staying in hotels, so I was going, this is money that could be going on screen. So yeah, it's very different when you get record companies involved.
So that looked like it had very high production values, a lot of craft involved in that.
It was a lot of work, that's for sure. That was a 3-day shoot, so it took a very long time. And with a huge crew.
How many?
I don't know, but we had all the fruit, We had grips, who, if anyone out there doesn't know what a grip is, they are in charge of camera movement, so they bring all these giant trolleys which are on tracks and stuff and push them around so you can get all the camera movement. We had gaffers, who are the dudes who set lights up, and we had lighting hanging off everything that we could hang it off, and had huge 5K lights lighting up Hyde Park in the middle of the night. It was massive. It was huge. Yeah, it was great. That was, I think that I'm always going to remember that video very fondly because it was for me, an example where everything came together, because that was very low budget. And flattery will get you everywhere if you're in a band. I'd never met James or Tegan before, and then they called me and they just said some very nice things to me on the phone, and I agreed to meet with them, despite the fact the budget was very low. And then I knew a producer who was wanting to work with me, and I just said, look, I've got this idea for this video. We can't possibly make it for what we've got. However, between us, we can get some favours, and we did it. So I think that video we cost at $50,000 if everyone had been paid, and we made it for less than 10% of that. So, yeah.
Wow, very lucky.
Yes, but it's sort of frightening though, because at the same time you end up shooting yourself in the foot, and this is why I was kind of whinging about money before, because I used every favour in the world on that video, and I've made about 10 since, and that's the one that people always come up and love, because I just haven't had the money to get those kind of production values again, and I haven't been able to milk the people for the favours again. So it just, the thing with money is it becomes difficult for you to make anything which is better than what you've already done. And so I kind of get depressed when I go home and people email me about Animalia, and I go, what about the other ones I've done? Are they actually brothers? No, they're not related at all. Yeah.
And was it your idea or their idea?
Yeah, that was my idea. But the way that I work with, I've got a great relationship with them. I've done 3 videos for them now. That was the first one that I did with them. And we've become really good buddies. And now I hang out with both of them and we just sink piss and talk about ideas for the next music video. And
You're not depressed then though, are you, Ben?
No. But what they do, which is the first band I ever did, is I just say, well, tonally, what do you want? And so they send me words. Like, with that, they just sent me words like swamp, dark, animalistic, this, that. And so I just thought, okay, well, it's giving me a tone, it's giving me a colour palette to work within. I think a palette for me in a music video is very, very important. You know, stick to the same colours, or this, the same look is really important. And then I just jumped online and I just Googled Perth, tourist attractions, and I found the Museum of Natural History. Yeah, in Guildford.
Messed up.
Yeah, it is. And I went there and I thought, great, all right, for this budget, I'm just going to do a performance video in this location because it's cool. And then I met the taxidermist guy there and I thought, now what if the band are getting taxidermy? And so I had that idea from words to do with tone that the band had given me, and from a location that I knew I could get for relatively cheap.
And look, you must be proud of it, because it ticks all those boxes. It's got tone, it looks really amazingly produced at a high level, and
I'm really proud. It's done really well for me. That won best music video in the country last year in a particular festival, and it was number 7 in Rage's top 50 music videos of the year in 2011. So I was really happy that a video that we'd made for just love was responded to so well by the public. So yeah,
and I
love
guess
goes a long way.
Yeah, and I guess that's the juggle though for both the filmmakers then and the musicians as well. Is that love is driving you with your passion, but at some point you do need to get paid, and it's working out whether you give a little or you actually ask a bit more on other ones, and how that all works. So I guess you have to walk a different road.
Yeah, I'm all for giving a little. Like, I still think even with the bigger budget music videos, I did a video for Draft, which was financed, properly, and that was a great experience. And I ended up becoming really good buddies with Draft, or Paul, as we were working. And so I ended up becoming so enthusiastic about wanting to make the video that he and I both wanted to make, that I put all of my fee back into the video and walked away with pizza, a slice of pizza from making that one. So yeah.
Are there any financial advisors in here for Ben?
I need one desperately.
Was that the one that had Sony reps hanging around?
No.
Which one was that?
Oh, you don't have to name names. It's
Oh,
okay. This has been recorded. We're not
Non-disclosure
going to
agreement?
defame anybody. I think it's time to maybe ask some questions from the audience. Does anybody have a question? And Tennille will come around with the microphone. She's kind of at the middle of the bar at the moment. Anybody? Yeah, here's one right down the front.
Hi, this is a question to all 3 of you guys. Do you prefer it if a band does come with a concept to you guys, or do you prefer to actually be...
I'm going to jump in there. I had this problem recently. No, I hate it when a band comes to me with a concept, because you have to make it your own. And I just turned down a music video the other day because the manager called me, which was great, and I love the fact that they thought so much about it, but they pitched me an idea. And I'm sure it was great, and if I listened to the song more, I might have been able to get it, but I just couldn't see it. I didn't know how I could make that concept, so I turned it down, because yeah, I just couldn't get it. And I had another incident where a band came to me. This has happened twice. Bands have come to me with half-finished ideas that they've got a mate to shoot and it just wasn't working their own way. And Ben, can we pay you to fix this? And I was just like, the footage you've got looks fine. It looks good and stuff, but I just can't connect with this idea. So I don't know how to fix this. So yeah, I think it's got to be collaborative.
Yeah, it's very rare that actually artists have come with a concept. They more often than not will come with reference material of maybe a movie or paintings or other music videos that they want to kind of capture the style of or some sort of element, and that's as far as they go. And I think the ones that have come to me with concepts, it's been the same thing as with Ben. I haven't been able to put my kind of soul into it to kind of take it to where it needs to go, and it's been difficult. And I think the majority of my projects have all been my own concepts.
Just a funny story. I'm just remembering. Sorry, Andrew, go in a minute.
Andrew will get a turn.
I did a video for Simone and Garfunkel recently for a song called Summer Rain. I don't know if anyone saw it, but if you have, you might find the story funny because they came to me and I said, well, so what are you thinking? And Bridget just said, oh, we just want lots of kittens frolicking through flowers. So I got 4 bikies and got them to perform the track. And so the fact I think that they'd come to me with a concept just made me kind of go, no, fuck you, let's go the opposite.
Did they like the clip?
Yeah, and that was one of the ones that got, clip of the week on Rage as well. So everyone was very happy in the end.
So there was some creative synergy there in the end.
In the end, yeah.
Andrew?
Just with when a band or a musician comes to you with a concept, last year I would probably say I like to just have my concept and run with it. But recently when people come to me and they might have something like a pool or, for example, I did a music clip for Mama Kin called Rescue, and she wanted to shoot it underwater, and at the time I was like, I've always wanted to do that, but logistically it entails so much. So when she came and said, this is what I want to do, I've got access to this, it was something that I really embraced and it was really cool. And I'm finding as I go along, I don't mind if a band or a musician's got a concept, as long as it's not a bad one. But when they come to you and they want to talk about it, and it can be a cool thing too, because I find usually, well, depending on who the artist is, they really know their music, they might really know their tone. They might not always know how to actually make a music video or how it should come about, so that's where you step in, but I actually don't mind it. I kind of like it if they've got some sort of concept. Saying that, majority of the film clips I've done have always been pretty much my concept, but usually they'll come and they'll go, look, I've got this image or I've got access to this, and that's what's really exciting. Like if they say, oh, I've got access to a roller skating rink, or I've got access to, I don't know, skydiving, whatever it is, all of a sudden it's something that you may not have done before, and you go, right, well, what's the trade-off here, and I think you still have to be creative, and you still have to bring it in that context. So, and it's nice, sometimes it takes the pressure off as well. You go, because you can really bust your head trying to think of something that's original. I mean, you go online, you look on YouTube clips, I mean, there's music clips and all sorts of different stuff. So to actually have to think of something and kind of make it original and give it its own life, that's a pressure in itself. So once you've done that, then you've also got to make that vision happen as well. So it's a double whammy of two things.
I think great ideas have come from, just a band bringing me like, sometimes just an image, just a painting. And that's sparked off, something in there has sparked off one idea which has become the video, but been so far removed from the original thing. But sometimes it helps if the artists just can have their own sort of things that can just help us come up with a creative concept.
And I guess the other thing that I struggle with when bands come to me with concepts is often they've got no idea about costing. So they're like, okay, yeah, we'll shoot all this thing underwater. You're like, okay, great. So who's going to get us an underwater camera, and underwater lights, and how are we going to play the song underwater so you can do lip sync? They don't always understand the practicalities of filmmaking, and so they sometimes give you a great idea which you just can't make for less than $500,000.
I mean, that's exactly right, because musicians and filmmakers are both creative but work in very different realms. None of us would try and write a song really, or we might not, it might be our first go. And similarly for musicians wanting to make a video, they might have had a go with, I don't know, Premiere or something like that. But as you said, there's a lot involved, like permits and costings and crews and things that people might not know about.
And that's where you can even get more creative in a way and kind of think about what makes something powerful. Like, someone might not have an amazing budget and they might think big, but then you can kind of school them in the power of just what a face is, and I did that with Felicity Groom with a clip called Sirens. We shot up in my studio. It was black and white, and it relied heavily, purely just on her performance and her look. and there was something strong and evocative about that. So yeah, you do. You're going to have musicians and bands, exactly what Ben says, they're going to come to you and they've got these massive ideas and they don't really have the idea of the logistics. But then sometimes the most simplest thing can actually be really powerful. And I always look at music clips, you know, I mean, it's a pretty amazing clip, but with Beyonce and her clips, some of them are really simple. I'm trying to think of other examples, but you look at what's very popular. I remember there's a track, Sail by AWOL Nation, and it's two girls who weren't even linked to the band, and they just set up a hose and a rain rig and they sung it, and it's got over like 25 million hits, and they're not even associated with the group, they were just lip syncing it. Super, super simple, but it works because it has its own little life to it. So I'm always looking at, you know, if someone comes to me and they go, yeah, I want to do this, and it's not possible, then I try and start looking at different alternatives of what makes that musician or that band powerful, and is there a way to convey that in the most simplest way? Because I think when people are, you know, when they go to the net or when they're looking at anything, they're looking for some form of connection, and that's what I try to do. Yeah.
Now, there's room for other people to ask questions. Tennille is still up the back there. Yep, here's someone over here.
How you going? I've got 2 questions. Am I allowed 2 questions?
Yeah, I believe so.
Is that all right? Excellent.
Lucky you.
That's awesome. First question was for the director of Rewind. I was just wondering, with that video, how much was influenced from maybe a love for horror? I felt a bit of David Lynch and a bit of kind of Rob Zombie, House of a Thousand Corpses in that outside field scene.
I think with that video we were trying to blend horror with J-pop. I think that was kind of the concept we were going for. Yeah, we were referencing a couple of highly intense Japanese pop video clips, but with a kind of macabre type edge to it. Yeah, that's kind of.
I think you achieved your objective there.
It certainly did.
And my other question was for director of Awkward. Obviously, I've heard that video time and time again on like TV commercials and things like that. I just wanted to know, does that affect the popularity and the hits and stuff that you have on YouTube and things like that? Like once it goes commercial, does that massively inflate your wallet?
No, actually it doesn't. I wish there was royalties, but there's not when you make a music video. It's sort of, and even with the marketing, like I don't have any control over the marketing of a music video. I go up, I do the job and release it, and then they take care of it. They work out when they're going to put it out there. In regards to when it breaks into a commercial aspect and how that affects hits, probably, I'm not sure. I mean, I do know though when, you know, growing up, when a music video or a track was really cool and then you hear it played on an ad or the radio for something else, it kind of kills it because it loses its, you know, kind of thing if it becomes used in a car ad or something like that. But yeah, I think with Awkward, the type of song, it could work on so many different ways. I know it was picked up with Vodafone and was used in a lot of different things, but I'm sure it does affect the hits in some way.
Any of your videos started generating YouTube revenue? Like YouTube advertising revenue or anything like that?
Again, that I thought about that, but it's the band. So once I've completed it, they'll upload it to their site and generate revenue from that.
It's an interesting thing because the band does make royalties off YouTube and Rage, but the filmmaker doesn't.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a real problem with it. I mean, I kind of think it would be good if, in an ideal world, if we did receive those royalties. I mean, that would be great.
Could be a way to contract that. I don't know. Probably new method of thinking.
And it depends. I mean, maybe if you did it for nothing, you could contract it to say if it got popular that the royalties would flow back to you. That would be a really cool idea, especially so that you could get something out of it. But yeah, once I've been paid for a music video and it's done, it's kind of their baby. It's their thing, and I don't have any problem with that. It's like I mean, yeah, it would be nice, but you know, to me, I've been paid to do the job, I've done it. And, you know,
I have to say, if there was a room of just ADG members here, that is something the ADG is actually working on, some level of royalties, usually for retransmission. We haven't looked solely at music videos, but maybe on a more serious evening we can have a discussion about how you can do that and what you can put in your contract.
Give them back pay as well. Make sure they get back paid for all the previous music videos that we've done.
Well, that would be very unlikely. So yeah, it would be a forward-moving decision.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, if there are actual filmmakers in the audience, and who want to go off and do music videos, I think some of the best things you can do is get a lot of books out on freelancing, and learn as much as you can about. I mean, I do business with a gentleman called Robert Castellani, who's my business partner, and he helps me draw up contracts, he gives me an understanding of that, and there's a lot of business etiquette that helps so much with working with artists and musicians, and keeping things transparent, working in ways to be paid like up front, so you can pay your crew and then get paid the rest of the 50%, which is usually how it works in production, once on completion. But it's so important to understand that aspect, because that's what's going to save you and that's what's going to keep you afloat. You can't just be a director, you need to understand how business operates as well.
And just to maintain professionalism as well, just to have the upfront payment and stuff, and to make sure the crew is getting paid results in just a better quality video, because people are going to be professional. If they're not getting paid, they're not going to do their best job. So you kind of want to ensure that you do things by the book, and you make sure that every creative that works in the project gets paid, the musicians and the filmmakers.
Yeah, and that's probably something for musicians as well, that we're all looking to make a living as well. Any more questions?
Somehow, in this crazy world of art.
Yeah, I actually came in a little bit late, so I might have missed the first 10 minutes or so, but I just wanted to ask if there's like an idea that might involve getting some footage of like the sun rising over solar ice caps or something like that we simply can't shoot here. Is there accessibility to a library?
Yeah, loads and loads of online libraries. You can buy pretty much anything you want.
Brilliant, brilliant. And what sort of costing does that involve?
It just really depends on the footage.
And it's usually about how many seconds of it you want as well. And, depending what level of HD it's at and all that kind of stuff. That's, I don't know, that's what producers are for. So they could probably tell you better.
Yeah, there's an increasing amount of online resources for stock footage, and some places are quite cheap but don't offer you full broadcast resolution. So if you're making, say, a 720p, like a low HD video just for YouTube, you might be cool. If you want to go for broadcast TV or 4K stuff, you're going to pay the big bucks pretty much. But it's surprising what you can find sometimes for really cheap, and it's surprising how expensive stuff is as well. So
yeah, like I think is it Getty?
Getty Images.
Yeah, Getty Images. They do now video footage as well. So if you go to Getty Images, that's a good way to start. There's also a few other websites, but I can't remember their name. But
Pond5 is one I've used quite regularly in recent times. It's got some well-priced stock footage.
And the three of you open to using that type of footage in your videos?
Yeah, if you need it, for sure.
Well, that comes down to the concept.
Cool, cheers.
Now there's someone else at the back here. Do you still have your question? No? Nobody else?
Someone else.
We've got about 10 minutes. Any question? No?
Some keywords. We can do interpretive dance.
You can do it.
Come on, Ben, you're the superstar. You're into acting.
maybe I could ask the audience, whoever wants to, but what their favourite music videos of all time are, if they want to tell me. It's just an idea. It's just an idea, folks.
Well, you can start. You've named a couple in the last couple of sessions we've had. What are your favourite ones?
Oh, yeah.
You go, man.
Actually, okay. My favourite music video is probably, I don't know, it's not really a music video, it's more of a short film, but I would have to say the one that influenced me the most when I was young and actually kind of got me into doing this sort of stuff was a Tool video for a song called Parabola. And it goes for 10 minutes and it combines like animation and like some amazing acting and makeup and just like the whole dramatic style of that video I fell in love with, and I think that's my favourite music video ever. But it's almost a short film. It's not really a promotional thing.
Was there someone in the audience brave enough? Okay, we'll come back to Ben then.
Okay, I've got a few, and it changes all the time. But one of the earlier videos that I saw, which really influenced me, was Sinead O'Connor's "Nothing Compared." It's just such a simple concept, and she is so good. It all just rests on her performance. And then they cut to cheesy cross dissolves of Roman statues. But when it's just on her head, it's really, really good. And it just every time I watch that, I'm reminded of how good sometimes the simplest things can be. And I guess one of my other favourite videos, probably because I can't get enough of the band, Never Could, is Heart Shaped Box by Nirvana. It's got some pretty impressive imagery in it, and just says so much about, you know, the turmoil that Kurt Cobain was going through in his life as well, with just the symbolism of the poppies and all that around, which was great.
Anton Corbijn.
Yeah, and the last video that I couldn't get enough of last year was Grimes, Oblivion. I just thought that was just masterful. It was great.
Is that time up?
That's the bat phone.
I think In Excess is Never Tear Us Apart by Richard Lowenstein was one of my favourites. It's all shot in Prague, and yeah, I love everything about it, the black and whites. Yeah, it's great. I also like a track by Fever Ray called When I Grow Up. That's done by Martin Ditura, and that's a really amazing clip, just for the mood and the look. And yeah, like Ben, it's always changing. Yeah.
Okay. Now your last chance, audience, but otherwise I've got one last question. So I don't see anyone jumping up to... All right. Now, Ben, you started with talking about the Simon and Garfunkel clip. And
Simone and Garfunkel.
Simone,
yeah.
oh, jeez. Now, you were talking about opposites, and on the radio the other day you were also talking about that, and that's about not always using your first creative idea that comes in. And maybe that's something important to talk about, because we often might think we have a great idea, but there might be something else.
I think this is one of my mentors when I first was moving into writing actually said this to me. He said, if your character is a man, ask yourself, what if it was a woman? Just always try and explore everything that you can. And so every time I have an idea now, you know, I try and flip it on its head for 1 second just to decide whether it's going to work or not. And so with Simone and Garfunkel, if anyone knows their music, it's very kind of melodic, feminine folk music. So I thought, well, what's the last person we'd expect to be performing that? And that would be a bunch of bikies. So yeah, I thought let's just try that. So yeah, I think it's good to...
Totally, especially in the world of music video. And music videos, or music videos especially, is actually kind of about fashion. It's about either obeying trends or fighting them. So by doing the reverse, it's kind of a commentary and can actually like spark some sort of response, which I think is really interesting.
All right. I'm running out of questions. Come on, someone. No. All right. Well, I'd like to thank everybody who's come along tonight. I hope you've gained something from it. I thought someone was just about to say something. So remembering again, maybe a few of you come regularly to the WAM and APRA AMCOS Sundowner series. So I want to thank you all for coming again, and also the people who've come down maybe for the first time, who are here for the Australian Directors Guild. You guys have been really great, and often when people are really passionate about what they do, there's a lot of information that we can all gain for it. So I want to thank Stephen Aaron Hughes.
And thank you so much to Justine for moderating the session for us.
Thank you. Ben Young in the middle. And Andrew Nowrigi.
I was curious about the audience. Like, how many of you, like, can show of hands, how many are in the film industry or the video industry?
Come on, don't be shy.
Yeah, I was just curious. Like, I'm not putting you on the spot here.
Yeah,
but
I see you.
versus those in the music industry. Okay, cool.
And did anybody learn something new tonight? Just to put you on the spot. Come on, hands. Maybe a third. Okay. Well, thanks again, everyone, and also, of course, to Neil and Alexi, who, as we heard at the beginning, his wife just had a baby. So you might see him at the next one. So thank you, everybody, and why don't we have a drink before we go? Thanks a lot.
I brought down some WAM Song of the Year entry cards as well if you want some information. So that's open now for the Song of the Year. There's some at the entrance and some along that little railing as you walk out. So grab one of those, you can enter, there's lots of categories. It's open till, I think, July, but have a look, it's all written on the card if you want some info. So thanks heaps, and as Justine said, let's have a drink.
Feel free to come talk to us. If you've got any more questions, if you're too embarrassed to say something to anybody else, come ask.